No Szechuan sauce? No. I want Szechuan sauce. Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Kendall Rick! My beloved Dum Dum! I'm Kendall Rick! Rick! I'm Kendall Rick!
Everyone who is a fan of something expresses their fandom in completely different ways. They could do something small like buying merchandise, something big like buying billboards and using social media to campaign for new seasons or the release of shelved movies and shows. Or it could be something that is completely life-altering and has an effect on the world outside of the fandom. This led me down a rabbit hole that I want to dive deep down into. So without further ado, these are some controversial moments in cartoon fandom. I spoke about this controversy in the last video, so I'm going to make it first on this list so we can get it out of the way. On December 20th of 2004, a group of writers and an artist would post their first issue of their Billy and Mandy fan comic titled The Grim Tales from Down Below. Those fans and artists being Neo Dinksking, Q-Nova, Griddles, and a man who went by the name of Bleedman. This would not be Bleedman's first rodeo, as just 12 months before this fan comic, he would be a major part in creating a Powerpuff Girls fan comic in a similar vein. Bleedman and his team would quickly become infamous for what many would consider to be the best webcomic at the time. Fans couldn't get enough of his work. These webcomics would cross over many beloved characters from different franchises that we'd never otherwise get to see interact with each other. So it's no surprise that these comics would be a big topic amongst animation fans and forums online. And it would stay that way for a little while. Until April 23rd of 2006, fans had been waiting for the next issue of the Grim Tales fan comic to be posted online. Thousands of fans rushed online to see what fun, spooky adventures await them, and what they read would change the course of this fan comic forever. After Mandy and Grim decided to switch places with each other for a day, Grim would sneak off into Mandy's room in hopes of finding some embarrassing secrets of hers. Which is already pretty problematic as it is, but Grim didn't just find anything embarrassing. He found out that Mandy had a plan called Operation Freedom that was planned for that very day. Grim ran out of the room as fast as he could and rushed to go turn on the TV just to have his fears confirmed, as he watched the planes hit the towers. After seeing the planes hit the towers, he'd go back into the room to dig around and find a bit more information, and would come to the conclusion that she had planned all of this out just to get him out of his rut. Then a sense of joy overcame Grim, as he had now believed to have a new sense of purpose. The comic then goes on to say that Grim hadn't felt a rush like this ever since Hitler, and the Titanic, and even the Challenger blimp explosion. And as you could imagine, this pissed people off. Fans raced to animation forums online, blog spots, to voice their outrage and to be heard. This was the first of many big controversies Bleedman would face, and the first official hit to him as an artist and a writer. And after many complaints and comments, he'd end up addressing his actions in a pretty lengthy statement that I will read now. Quote, "I felt a bit nervous when I started making these pages, and I can truly understand if I have made some people upset over it, but at least hear me out. I too am entitled to express my point of view. I was just trying to find ways how I can relate to the concept of the characters to our real world. I guess we'll start off with Mandy. What I love about Mandy as a character is that she sees the real world, not some idealistic, only good and justice prevails, freedom for all and love is everything screwed up wonderland. Although she's just a fictitious cartoon character, for me she's someone I can truly relate in our real world. You can't really blame Mandy for what she did. She's only doing her job as the Grim Reaper. Sure, she made plans, but that's what every Grim Reaper should do. Remember the movie Final Destination? At the same time, Mandy is a reincarnation of all evil. Her existence is a source of humanity's darkest and most cruel essence, while Billy, on the other hand, is a representation and a source of man's stupidity. And because mankind welcomes both evil and stupidity so willingly, Mandy is able to carry out all of her plans. In short, Mandy simply presented her ideas to mankind, and mankind simply accepted it with open arms. These things happen because I believe there is a Billy and Mandy in all of us. We can be stupid and evil, and when it comes to our bestest friend, the Grim Reaper, We have no one but ourselves to blame. A couple of themes I wanted to point out is, will humanity ever learn? I guess not. Is Mother Earth pissed? I guess so. That's what I like about comics. Add a pinch of idea based from the real world, to help remind us of things that we never forget. Things like our wounds, and I'm talking not just America's wounds, I'm talking about Iraq, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and every other country that's facing hell. So please look at it not just in your own nation's perspectives, but through other countries as well. Try to look at the wounds through the eyes of the whole entire world, you self-centered bastards. The wounds are painful and have yet to heal. Well, it shouldn't. Because it's only through these wounds that you can become an idiot. It's the only thing that makes you stronger. Pain and suffering is a part of life. It's what my pappy taught me. These things happen and will continue to happen. You better get used to it and face it, you bunch of wusses. The images I used were not intended as a mockery or as a tribute, but as a slap in your face to remind you that life is not all sugar puffs and candy corns. Life can be cruel, very, very cruel. Life's a B word, and so is death. So if you feel offended, angry, or pissed off right now, well, you should be. If you feel the urge to email me concerning this issue, do so. Emails, hate mails, flame mails, you have every right to. Seriously, speak up. If you have anything to say about these pages, positive or negative, or that I'm a heartless dick, say it. You want to make a political issue out of this? Knock yourselves out. Please comment and spare your 2 cents. God bless America. Bless Iraq. P.S. I took a big risk making these pages, and if I do so seriously give a horse crap about my reputation just so people can love me and praise me, I wouldn't bother posting it in the first place. But I don't, so hate me, flame me. However, I still do care about respecting other people's feelings and opinions, so I want to apologize to everyone I offended.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Oh, I do! I do!
Invader Zim is such a dark pit of a cartoon. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that this was intended for children. Home to some of the darkest Nickelodeon episodes ever put to screen. What, don't believe me? Google top 10 darkest Nickelodeon shows and you'd be hard pressed to find one without Zim in it. In reality, the show is fantastic and hilarious. There isn't actually anything in the show that should be able to harm you in any way outside of the fact that you might feel a little squeamish after watching it. But for one fan of the show, his curiosity for Zim's antics may have costed him his freedom. In 2005, a fan of Invader Zim named Scott Edgar Dialski sat at his residence while he allegedly waited until his neighbor was home alone. Once she was confirmed to be home alone, Scott would break into the neighbor's home, grab the woman inside, and bludgeon her head in 39 times. After beating her unconscious, he then sliced into her so he could remove and play with her organs. The root of all the issues buried within this clearly disturbed human being was the second segment in the Season 1 Episode 4 episode of Invader Zim titled Dark Harvest. In said episode, Zim has a curiosity with human organs and attempts to steal them from the other children at his school, taking kids' organs and replacing them with items like milk cartons and heaters to see if they could survive without them. That was 4 years before Scott's incident. That episode awoken something in Scott, a curiosity that would grow and fester until fantasizing just wasn't cutting it. So after committing the disgusting acts, he'd leave her body in front of the door for the police to find her. And he was arrested 5 days later as one of the main suspects of her murder, where he would list Dark Harvest as an inspiration for the murder. He then claimed to be joking, but that's clearly just BS. He committed these acts and cared enough about the episode to mention it during the trial, so whether he believes it or not, the episode had an effect on him. But weirdly enough, while doing research on this topic, I've stumbled across a lot of news articles being dated as recent as May 3rd of 2023, with multiple headlines claiming that he in fact did not murder the woman. And I'm just not sure where they're getting this from, but they're saying something like investigators are saying that there is another corporate that they're looking at as the main suspect, so maybe there's more to the story after all. With multiple headlines claiming that he in fact did not murder the woman. And I'm just not sure where they're getting this from, but they're saying something like investigators are saying that there's another corporate that they're looking at as the main suspect. So maybe there's more to the story after all.
What is this? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
It was the early 2000s, and Nickelodeon had seemed to have what some would consider the best lineup of Nicktoons at the time. You had shows like SpongeBob still in its prime, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Fairly OddParents, but one of the shows stuck out among the rest. That show, being Danny Phantom, was unlike the other cartoons because instead of just being a comedy, it was an action cartoon. With a wide variety of Villain of the Week characters, all with their own gimmicks and fan bases. While this would all seem normal, one of these villains created by Butch Hartman would be the inspiration for the acts one horrible human being would commit. In Season 1, Episode 11, titled A Symphony of Doom, aired on October 8th of 2004, we'd meet Danny Phantom's newest villain, Ember McClain. Ember was an entitled ghost and musician who fed off the attention she received from fans. The more attention they gave her, the more powerful she gets. The more powerful she gets, the more influence she has over her masses. And what was once just a fun episode of a cartoon, nothing to be taken seriously, just a fun episode with the new great villain, turned into a tragedy 13 years after the original episode even aired.
About a murder-suicide at a supermarket in northeastern Pennsylvania. Police say the gunman was an employee who killed 3 co-workers before he killed himself. State police are now looking at digital footprint. It turns out YouTube videos of Stair preparing for the attack have been found. Police.
On the morning of June 8th, 2017, the employees of the West Market supermarket were stocking and preparing to close for the night. The employees got to finish their duties and then go home after a long day of work. The 24-year-old killer, whose name does not deserve to be spoken, then decides to barricade the exits. This monster of a being then decides to pull out 2 pistol-gripped shotguns and kill his co-workers. One of the co-workers was listening to music while labeling items when she heard gunshots. She turned around to see that one of her employees has been murdered. The killer noticed her yet decided to let her live, while she ran away hiding, trying to find a way out and call police. The suspect then killed the rest of the employees and took his own life, leaving tapes praising the Columbine shooters in his leaving. When police raided his room for evidence, they found bullets, notebooks, and a DVD labeled Goodbye. On the DVD, he would send his final message to his parents, going into detail about his fascination with death and how he never planned to live past his 20s. He'd then confess to being obsessed with the cartoon character Ember McClain and how much he loves her. Hours before the shooting took place, he would send an email to the voice actress, letting her know just how much he loved her and that once she got this message, he would be dead by the time she was reading it. A prosecutor would end up calling this a mental health situation that spiraled out of control. But I think it's a lot deeper than that. I don't think this person let their coworker live out of kindness or reason. I believe he wanted the exact same thing that his idol Ember wanted, and that's fame, recognition. He wanted the world to know about his disgusting acts and recognize him for it. The same way he recognized the Columbine shooters and praised them is the same way he wants to be recognized, and he's not going to get his way. Not on my channel. He will remain nameless and forgotten. And I'm thankful that Nickelodeon hasn't pulled away from using Ember as a character or forgetting she exists, because that would mean that this monster got to win. But instead, he will be forgotten, while the lives that he took will live on and be loved forever. Terry Sterling, 63 years old. Victoria Brong, 26 years old. Brian Hayes, 47 years old. May all of you rest in peace.
Say my name! Say my name!
The only thing we're saying here is goodbye.
Okay, now that we got all the extremely dark and moody topics out of the way, I thought we'd maybe move on to something a little more humorous. 2017 was a wild year for animation. While we had dumpster fires like the Emoji Movie, I haven't seen it. We also got movies like Kubo and the Two Strings and Coco, bringing respect back to Pixar. And that's just in the movies department. As far as series go, we got one of my personal favorite series ever in OKKO Let's Be Heroes, and of course Rick and Morty Season 3. The season that would ignite my love for the series. Now, I had watched Rick and Morty before and I've liked it, but season 3 episode 1 really turned the tide for the fandom. It blew up, and I mean actually blew up. The fandom was bigger than ever and the people's hype was at their absolute peaks. So come here real quick, follow me for a second. So we're at the height of Rick and Morty's story, and everybody's on the edge of their seats from the season 2 finale. Yet our biggest takeaway from the first episode of the new season was McDonald's Szechuan sauce? Really? I mean, I'm acting surprised, but I was on that hype train for the sauce that I had never even tried out. It came out way before I was born. So when McDonald's had officially, albeit quietly, said they were going to bring the sauce back for a very limited time, fans were absolutely ecstatic. But that excitement slowly turned into a mess of confusion and low supply.
Chaos at a McDonald's over, of all things, Szechuan sauce. Customers crowd the counter demanding the Szechuan dipping sauce for their McNuggets. Outside, hundreds more are lining up. What on earth is going on here?
Apparently, McDonald's severely underestimated just what they were going against. They were thinking maybe 5 or 6 fans of the show would show up to every McDonald's location and it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. It was a huge deal. Hundreds of thousands, possibly even millions of Rick and Morty fans across the world raced to their McDonald's to try this sauce that Rick was so in love with. There were lines going from inside the restaurant that could be seen going as far as 5 stores down. People were hot and exhausted, and to make matters worse, it was only at participating McDonald's chain, so not every McDonald's had the sauce. And the ones that did only had about 10 to 20 packs of sauce. So most of these huge lines of people wouldn't even be lucky enough to get to taste it, and instead were given posters as a way to smoothen things over. I still remember it so vividly. I was there the day of, oozing with excitement as I went to the McDonald's just to see a line of people waiting. But to my surprise, the line of people weren't lined up at the register. Instead, they were all in one group hovering a man in the McDonald's. So I saw myself as taking advantage of the situation and rushing over to the register to see if they could supply me with some of that sauce like a drug fiend. Scratching my neck and looking over my shoulder while I'm telling the lady behind the register just to slip me a little bit of sauce. Please, slip me a little bit of sauce. I won't tell anybody. I swear I'm good for it, please. But to no avail. So I go over to the crowd to see what the people were looking at, see what all the hoopla was about. And I swear to you, there was a bald man sitting in the middle of this circle with 1 cup of Szechuan sauce in his hand, offering anybody 1 delicate little dip of a single chicken nugget into his sauce for only $10 each. And people were actually paying for it. It was literally warfare out there. At other locations, people were getting into fights and making scenes, harassing employees and making a huge deal. And McDonald's only had themselves to blame. They had purposely not joined forces with Rick and Morty and tried to profit off of the sauce that they made popular, which led to McDonald's not having a proper metric for how many people would actually end up wanting it, which in turn led to this mob mentality and pissed so many people off, including the Rick and Morty creator Justin Roiland, who thought that they handled the situation terribly. McDonald's would eventually end up issuing a statement and an official apology and promised to officially release the sauce in quantities that everybody could enjoy. But the damage of that day was already done. But on the bright side, I did end up getting to try it with my friend Josh and his Pepe. We thought it was pretty delicious, all things considered. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video, but I don't think I'm going to be making stuff as dark as this for a while. I'd rather focus on the positivity and genuineness that fandom can provide, not talk about some of the very few rotten fans in the bunch who in no way represent us all. So if you're new to the channel, it's been really nice having you and I'm thankful that you're here, but the content going forward is going to be a little bit more positive. But please feel free to comment video ideas and suggestions. If you like dark content, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'm willing to still do it if you guys are a fan of it, but personally, I think I'd rather talk about topical ideas that we can all love and enjoy without having to get my videos age restricted. So thank you. Ciao for now.